Okay, so our next speaker is Robert Winkel, who has 20 years of experience in the information security and intelligence fields. More euphemistic bios, I love it. He's the Director of Saltbush Assurance, which is an Australian company which does pen testing, digital forensics, and security code reviews for government and industry, both local and worldwide. He has developed training courses around the world on topics that include penetration testing, web app vulnerability assessment, wireless penetration testing, open source intelligence, protocol reversing, and lockpicking. And it is the lockpicking that brings him before you today. So Robert's going to cover the basics of locks, lockpicking, and do some live demos, and you guys will hopefully pick up a few tricks. So let me introduce Robert Ball Winkel.
Thanks. Good morning. So I'm Bull, call me Bull. That's my Twitter handle if you want to look me up. I'm also on LinkedIn for professional reasons. So this is just a who am I. This is more sort of why I got into lockpicking. I sort of had no defined point in time where I went, yes, I want to be in lockpicking. I just somehow found myself into it. But it's me, I'm a security consultant, pen tester, and director. I'm a white hat, so I'm a bit of a hacker, but I'm not one of the ones that sort of went up through playing around as a kid. I got sucked into the military and learned all the skills. So why am I a lockpicker? I'm a puzzle enthusiast, so I've got hundreds of physical puzzles at home. Started off with, the Rubik's cubes and stuff like that. Found out the best way to solve them is to take all the stickers off and and that's sort of gone on to lockpicking now. That's you're supposed to open a lock with a key. Open that. And I'm a bit of a hacker for making and breaking. And I've presented effectively the same sort of talk at various cons. I'm doing one at OSINT this year, which is going to be a bit more in depth in high security locks. How can we break into SCEC endorsed security locks? And I'll show you. I'm going to pray to the demo gods and do some live demos here. I've got a lock with some high security pins in it, and I'll sort of show you that. But we won't go into high security stuff too much. Okay, so I don't consider myself a great picker, I just know the techniques.
Especially if you're a Yahoo customer.
I was thinking about changing that to GCHQ, but I actually made this slide many years ago when I was actually in GST. So I'm an ex-spook, quite ex, haven't been there for quite a while. So my lockpicking story, this is actually something a lot of credit. Okay, so it was Friday, Arvo, and I overheard a conversation, and it was a lady panicking because the person that had the key to the beer fridge was interstate, and the key couldn't be found. So I overheard this and went, I've got some lockpicks on me, as I always do, when I walk into high security buildings. So I sort of put my hand up and said, hey, do you want some help? And she said, yes please. So I said, okay, show me the lock. And I saw the lock, and I went, when I saw it, I went, oh, shit, I'm not going to be able to pick this one. I could tell from it, it's got some high security pins, it's got 6 pins in it, and it had an extremely small keyway. Like I wasn't even sure I could get my pick in there. And I told them, I said, I think this is a very hard lock to pick. So me just trying to jam the pick in there, and I raked it all, and in under a second, I picked probably the high security lock I've actually tried to pick within a high security building, and they just went, oh my god, they thought I was a ninja or something.
Savant?
Yeah, but, yeah, that was the fleetest one I've ever done, and kept a lot of crypto geeks from getting angry and running around biting nipples and stuff. Yeah, so that was happy. My second one, just boast. This was at CrikeyCon last year. Just for shits and giggles, we took every pair of handcuffs that we could and I put them on. We had a lot more, but as you put more and more handcuffs, your arms get thicker and I just couldn't fit any more on. So I had 10 pairs of handcuffs and a pair of thumb cuffs. Without official timing, it took about a minute 40 to get them all off.
How did you reach the locks with your hands?
Well, it's very hard because with handcuffs, with a single pair of handcuffs, usually you can twist around and do that. But 10, no, you can twiddle your fingers, that's about it. The thumb cuffs, you got your fingers and your lips basically, so that's how I got the thumb cuffs off.
So if it was behind your back,
if it was behind my back, I'd have to clench.
you'd still be there.
Is that where you keep your picks?
I can do it behind, pick behind my back, and I'm happy to show you how. It's,
No, that's okay.
Okay, rules. These rules come from Tool, which is TOOL. It's a lockpicking worldwide thing. But basically, they're rules to have. Don't pick locks which you don't own. Sure, if your friend has a lock and says, go for it, then yeah, go for it. But another one, don't pick locks which you rely on, as in don't go to your front door and use these techniques. Things break, you wear out away the pins, things like that, so your lockpick might snap off in the lock, and then you've actually got to call a locksmith actually. Yeah, so do like what I've done. I collect shitty padlocks and stuff like that, and I just go to the local locksmiths and say, do you have any locks where you don't have keys for it anymore? Give them to me and give me a box. Sometimes a few dollars or a beer or two. Queensland legislation. I've collected the legislation about lockpicks for every state. It's different in every state, but they're sort of generally the same. Queensland is a bit interesting. It depends on whether you're carrying them at night or during the day. If you're carrying them at night, you can't do it without a lawful excuse. Now, what is a lawful excuse? I don't know. That's up to the judge, I guess. But if you're a locksmith, you'd probably get away with it. If you were someone doing a lock-picking demonstration like me, then maybe I'd get away with it. A security professional, yes, so I tick a couple of those boxes, so I'm sort of happy carrying lockpicks around with me, even at night. But by day, it's a little bit less strict. Yeah, so you have to have an intent to commit a crime to get in trouble. But how, the copper, if he says, yes, you've got intent to commit a crime, you're wearing a black t-shirt and you're carrying lockpicks, that might be enough to convince the judge that you do. So be a bit wary. Maybe have you get out of jail free card, which is you're a member of a local lockpicking group or something like that. That's a good way to do it. And of course, I'm not a lawyer, so this is just my guesses. This is legislation I found. I don't know whether there's more out there. There might be more out there that actually says, no, you're next. But I've never been searched by a cop yet, and I think I'm good enough to get out. So lockpicking is easy. It's just doing it enough times to know the basic technique. Most locks that I pick, I just rake the hell out of it and they pop open, so no real technique. But even knowing how to rake takes practice. So what we're going to do here is look at pin tumbler locks. You'll see them all over the place. They're like 90% of the locks you'll see. Most padlocks. You can see the pins up here. I'll say that most of these graphics and the animated bits come from Deviant Olim's lockpicking slides. I didn't see any sort of requirement to say that they were from him or anything like that, but I think they're open source, that I'll point to him. If you want to get these yourself, just Google Deviant Olim lockpicking slides and find it.
It's just deviant.net, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, the page is Deviant. Okay, so that's an inner view. So that's what you see from the outside, the single pin, if you look closely. But that pin is actually really two pins. I'll call them top and bottom just because. But the idea is that this plug cannot turn because this pin's in the way. If you move that red line up, that shear line is there and then you can turn. That's a view of a single pin, but of course you'll have more pins usually in the lock. So that's it, trying to turn without a key. You put a key in and it can turn. This is going from the upper angle, so you've got 5 pins there, and how it works with the proper key. Now what happens if you've got the wrong key? In this case, this bit of the key is a little bit too low, so that shear line doesn't marry up and won't turn. Even though all the other pins are exact, that won't turn. And likewise, if it was a bit too high, that won't turn. So with lockpicking, what we have to do is make all those shear lines match up at the same time. Now, what this is saying, this word bind is me trying to turn the plug and it won't turn because that pin is getting in the way of the barrel and the plug. And in a perfect world, all these holes that host these pins are exactly straight. But in the real world, that's not the case, and that's why we can actually do lockpicking. So in the real world, there are a bit due to manufacturing errors. That might be a 1/10 of a millimetre closer that way, that might be a 1/10 of a millimetre that way. There's also the pins themselves aren't exact. They wear with time. The cheaper the locks, the nastier the pins, and therefore the more leeway you have. So it's these little errors that allow you to do lockpicking. So what happens in the real world, you'll see that these are a little bit off center. And if I try to turn the plug, one or possibly 2 of these pins will bind, will stop it from turning anymore. So in this case, this is the pin that's binding, and the others are free. So if I came along and tried to push them up and let go, I'd fall back down. Whereas this one here, if I try to push them up, I'd feel that little bit of friction resistance. So that's what happens when you bind, and you push it up and you click. And you actually feel that click. You probably won't hear it, but with practice, you'll learn to feel it. And that's one of the ways I've learned how to get okay at lockpicking is don't even look, just pick while watching TV, and I can do it by feel. So when you set that pin and you release that red one now, you'll feel it a lot looser. Again, all this comes with practice feeling it. So this animation actually takes quite a bit of time, so I'll simplify it. But this is the technique usually. You push up a pin or 2 and nothing's binding, nothing's sort of giving you any friction, and then you'll push up one and you'll feel that sort of friction and then click, and then when you release, so that pin is now set, and you do that in this case 4 more times, and that'll the plug further. Look, I'm getting my terminology mixed up. Again, this is going to go through a very slow animation. I'll do some live demos in a sec. But if you push too hard, you can actually push that red pin up higher than it should go. Hopefully we'll do this one. Yeah, but if you push up too far, that red pin will now be blocking the plug from turning. So, yeah, like that. So he's just screwed himself basically. And that's usually what you'll do. You're pretty sure you've picked every single pin, nothing else moves up. So what you've done is you've pushed them too far up. You can sort of, you can just reset and start again, or you can let a little bit of tension go from the plug and hope, and one of the pins will drop, and hopefully that pin that dropped was the one that you bound you overlifted. Braking. So braking, that's the equivalent of brute forcing the lock, basically. I do this all the time, especially in competitions, and I see a lot of people doing competitions that break the shit out of something, hopefully it pops in seconds. If it doesn't, and maybe you've set 3 or 4 of those pins and you just need to pick that last one by itself. This is braking. So usually you get a pick with a bit of like a snake on S to it, and that's typically how quickly it can go. Sometimes I sit there for 2 minutes just raking the lock away, and until it happens, and every now and then I might let go and reset it again. It goes pretty quick. It can go very quickly. Okay, tension. So we've shown how to lift pins, but now we need to turn the barrel. So this is a tension wrench, or some people call it torsion wrench. Basically just a bit of metal that you stick in the keyway and turn. You don't need to turn it hard, just enough that if there were no pins there, it would turn by itself. So you can do it a couple of ways. So that way there is pushing down to the thumb, that way they're pushing down to the finger. Although they're pushing close to the barrel, it's better to push over here because of the so up there is good position to push. Because if that plug moves like 1 degree, you're more likely to sort of feel it here. It's magnetized. If you look at this guy's finger here compared to this one, this is too much pressure. You're pushing too much, and that's just right. Just enough to turn. That's where a lot of people go wrong straight away. Is they put too much tension on the tension wrench.
Is that because you're more likely to over push the lower pin, or you're just not going to move at all?
It's a lot easier to make you can overlift if you put too much tension. It can work. Some locks, I put as much tension as I can possibly do on it, but usually the light tension lets you feel which ones gives you a better feel. Whereas if you put too much, all of them will bind and maybe be overlifted. And especially if there's security pins in there, too much tension the security pins will effectively kick in and you won't be able to bypass them. So you can position the tension wrench several ways. Down the bottom is usually where you put it, but sometimes if the keyway is a bit too small and you can't get your pick in, you need to be a bit smarter with somewhere else. And tension tools. So yeah, down here is usually where you put it. And you see there's a little bit of space there to fit the actual pick.
Yep.
All right. So I've got some training locks here. Where are we positioned there? This is cut away so you can actually see the springs and the pins. This very first pin here is actually buggered from too much play. It's actually popped out. So in this case I've got 3 pins to pick, and if I push them all up, where are we? Sorry, may or may not be able to see because of the light, but there's 2 pins in there. No, you can't really see, but what I'll try to do is pick it. Hopefully, because there's only 3 pins here, and I can see the pins, I should be able to pick it very easily. Yeah.
So you're recommending angle grinding the target lock in advance?
You can actually buy locks like these online from lockpicking sort of places, or on eBay. They're actually fairly cheap. Well, comparatively, they're about $40 or something like that. Actually, there's 4 pins in here. The last pin need to be set first. So I've got 1 more pin, I think, I need to set. Demo gods aren't smiling. And that should go up. No. No, I didn't give my sacrifice.
This morning.
Sorry. So I'll move on. I'm happy to show anyone at the table how to do this.
As long as it's still daylight.
Oh yes. Okay. Handcuffs. I purposely haven't put any legislation about handcuffs here because I'm a bit scared to look. Okay, this is a cutaway of a handcuff, and we'll see most of the handcuffs you'll come across work on this principle, except for some of the $5 cuffs that you buy for bedroom stuff. They're a bit easier to open. Alright. Now, I don't actually know the terminology. These teeth here bind with this mechanism here to stop them opening, and that's effectively it. There's a little spring here that's pushing those teeth up. So the idea is to pick it, we need to push this down. That's what the key does. The key turns in here and pushes down here, and that whole mechanism goes down. There's the spring. That green bit is the double locking mechanism. It's a simple mechanism, but if this there's a little pin here that you can push in, and this whole mechanism goes to the left, and this bit of the green bar meets up with that bit of the red bar, and that red bar cannot be pushed down. And usually what that is for is when the cuffs are on you and they've got the double locking mechanism, you can't tighten it, therefore you can't restrict yourself. But it's also an extra challenge for people that actually want to pick. Not much of a challenge. Okay.
So Robert, how do you engage that second lock when you're cuffed? How does it actually get turned on?
It's a little push button that pokes out the side.
So here, handcuff keys usually have a little pin on it that can push that across. Now to actually turn it, like to reverse it, you put the handcuff key in there and turn it the other way, pushes it to the right. So first you've got to put the key in, turn it to the right or anti-clockwise in that orientation, and then clockwise to open it. And so effectively to pick it, that's all you're doing is replicating what the key does, just with the pick. So here's a little animation. Again, I can pray that the demo gods will do it. We'll just do this. So there's the key, you turn it and that mechanism goes down, allowing the handcuff to open.
The key itself, it doesn't have to have any sort of special kind of cut to it or anything like that. It's just a piece of metal that moves the ratchet, right?
Yeah. The keys are effectively universal. And they're designed for that, so one copper can hand you over to the next and hand you over to the next, and they don't have to find the key that lock you up. They're not really designed to be pick proof, and it's just a restraint device. It's not there, and most people when they're restrained won't be able to get their hands on a pick anyway behind their back. Unless they carry them in the back pocket, like I sort of want to do. Right. So there's a few ways to open a typical handcuff. I'll show you. You can use a shim and you can use it in two different directions. I've got a shim on my handcuffs, but usually I just use a tension wrench as a shim. And the other is using the pick to actually replicate the key. And I'll demo both of those later. I think I've already spoken about the double lock, so that's the double locking mechanism. Yeah, little demo. So he'll see that can move freely down now, but if you push the double locking mechanism over, which it's about to do, it can no longer be turned, and no longer goes down enough to open or close the handcuffs any further. But if you turn it the other way, it will push that mechanism across. Okay. And then it just opens as a single lock. No.
Do you need the other 9 pairs or?
Okay, so that's the same mechanism as you saw before. Now this is just single locked, so I can tighten it. If I just get a single tension wrench, there's a couple ways that I can do it to shim it. So I can stick it in there, and all I'm doing is shoving it in enough that that mechanism goes down. And now I can open it. Good. I've got a bit of a worry. My first CrikeyCon, they had a they do the same challenge every year. You start off in handcuffs, all right? And everyone was using a pick and picking them, and I knew the shimming technique, and I said, no, just give me one of these. Started off. I found out that that pair of handcuffs was so finely made that they were unshimmable, basically. And I came last in the lockpicking competition. So so not all handcuffs are shimmable like that. Okay, the other angle is to come in from this side. Now this is a little bit harder, but if you've only got the angle, then that's it. But let's see. Oops. What I wanted to do is, so let's see if we can get down there. See, I've got this tension bar, and it hits that teeth mechanism now, and I can no longer push it in any further because it's sort of jammed in there now. So what I need to do is move those teeth down a little bit, and the way to do it is to tighten a little bit.
That's how he became known as Robert One-Arm Winkel.
And as you're tightening, you've got to push in, and you finally manage to get in there. So that's two ways to shim. The easiest way is from the back, away from the key end, so that end, and the harder way, but is from this end where the keyhole is. And to pick is extremely easy. So I've just got a standard lock pick here with a little hook. All I need to do is go in there and imitate what a handcuff key would do, which is to push down that mechanism right there. It's open. So when I had those 10 pairs of handcuffs and opened it in a minute 40, I probably opened 9 of those in 30 seconds or so. One was just a bugger to open, and literally I was just putting this thing in, moving it, and they were just opening and falling off me. That's how, if you know the exact angle to get in there and the sort of way to dig in there, you can really open them up very, very quickly.
I've seen a couple of people get caught out when it jams.
Yes.
Where in the mechanism is it jamming, or is it running?
Yeah, so they jam quite often.
Yeah.
I've had to throw out about 5 pairs.
So
I've got one in there that's jamming now. I'm not really sure, but I've also got a pair of bolt cutters out there.
Somebody else's hand was going white glass.
Yeah.
CrikeyCon.
So I've seen it happen at CrikeyCon, and it happened at
just tighten it again, it'll be fine.
it happened at Wackon in Perth when I was doing it. So, but luckily I didn't need to bolt cut out there. We just spent half an hour and eventually got it.
10 minutes, mate.
All right, thanks.
Horses, yes.
Yeah.
You got out and covered it.
Yeah.
That's good, you know.
I think I'm almost done anyway. Let's see.
So we've got 10 minutes. Questions, should I?
Yeah.
Are you done?
Need to look it up.
Are you done with the demo part? Should I introduce questions?
Yeah. Okay. So that's it. So basically, what I suggest now is we play as much as possible. I'll be there to help you out. We don't play while other talks are on, because it can be a bit noisy, people throwing locks and swearing and stuff. Also, I'm interested in forming an almost unofficial lock sport club, if anyone's interested in joining. What that involves is we go to the pub, we play the locks and handcuffs until they kick us out. And if there's enough interest for it to go monthly, then we'll get our skills up, and then we start getting onto more difficult things.
Like going after live targets. Trying to get arrested so you can get out of the handcuff.
if you're interested, then just look me up on any of those places. So I'm, I don't know if you picked up before, so I'm a consultant from Canberra, but I've just recently moved here to Brisbane, so I'm full-time in Brisbane.
There's a few Canberra refugees here.
You mentioned the high security locks. Have you got any slides on some of the side pins or anything like that? Or?
Yes, it will take me several minutes to dig them out. I've got some high security pins there, but the lighting there probably won't show them up, but I can show them to you in person.
Would you be out there for most of the day if people want to pop out and have a play?
Yeah, but I'm not going to miss out on any of the presentations.
So he'll leave some locks out there and just go and...
So I won't move from that table if people looking me up and freezing me up. Any specific questions? Yep.
So you covered barrel locks and handcuffs. What about the old kind of locks? You know, the ones where the key's kind of flat but a funny shape. You know, what do you call those kind of locks?
The mortise.
Yeah. And do you need special tools to be able to do that, or is it really simple? You can
No, mortise locks. You can effectively get a skeleton key, for one of the better words. 2 or 3 keys will open the driving mortise locks. So no, and there's lots of other locks. There's the Winkel locks. There's circular locks that you get in Coke machines and all that. There's tools out there to effectively pick them all. Your cars can easily be effectively raking on both sides at once because they've got pins on the top and bottom. You get some, they're called jigglers. They're just keys with some pins in them. You jiggle up and down. The majority of locks that any people own here will be, I could probably break into them within a few minutes, I would say. Most high security locks will probably be too much for me, but that's where I'm heading now, I'm trying to get into those. Yep.
I noticed that you have time to slides. Would you ever give a quick description of what goes into a high security lock? Like it's just high quality manufacturer or is that different?
No, they're different strategies, I guess. So the first step is to use what they call high security pins. So those pins that I showed you are effectively just cylinders. They can put cut chunks out of it, so you'll feel that click and think it's bound at the shear line, where it's actually bound halfway through the pin, for example. Or they can even round off the pins, so there's no distinctive click. So there's about 4 or 5 different types of pins that I know of, and I've got some here, and we can play with those.
I've got a follow-on question from that. I mean, if it is as simple as just altering the shape of the pins, I understand that more precise machining might be more expensive and add to the cost of the lock. But if it's just a case of putting a few ridges in the pins, it would seem a fairly trivial adjustment for a manufacturer to make. Are you seeing lock security generally improve, or not?
No, because they're usually, most people that are going to break into your house won't try to pick your locks. Right?
No, they're going to kick the door in.
Yeah, exactly. So why bother? You either have the basic lock that's just there as a deterrent to stop people from actually opening the door and walking in, or if you're really worried that people are going to try to pick your lock, which probably isn't going to be the case 99% of the time, then get some high security pins, or not pin locks. Quite a few locks that come out, they may not advertise it, but if you're paying $70 for a padlock instead of $5, they've probably got a few high security pins in it. Probably 6 or 7 pins rather than 5.
Also, fun tip, if you happen to find yourself in handcuffs without easy access to a lockpick, I understand that the blades that come off street sweepers are quite useful for that purpose.
So those tension wrenches, I pick them up off the street all the time.
Street sweeper blades, people.
Single bend and you've got yourself a tension wrench.
Yeah, really good ones too. They've got just the right spring in them.
And some of them can be really long, which are useful in some circumstances.
And you can bend the end and put them in the keyring. But anyway,
I've seen a few people restrained with the plastic zip tie type things. I have seen videos online that purport techniques for getting out of those,
Yeah.
but I don't really want to practice myself.
I was going to bring, bought a whole bunch of those, and I was going to bring them here, but I don't know, people seem to panic when they're restricted. Even just basic handcuffs, so I didn't. But yeah, they're fairly easy to break out. Even I've got some really thick ones. It doesn't really matter how thick they are. So the technique, just say I've got them in front there, is just to snap them like that, bang like that. And you can do the same thing from the back. You get a bit more subtle and nimble and a little thinner than me to do it. And I haven't been able to do it behind the back. But you can't just twist it out. It needs a sudden strike force, and then you're out. You can also shim them.
Yeah. Are they cheaper? Like, are you seeing the cops use those more? Because I imagine that people
Me personally, no.
Depends where you are. If you're at a protest that turns ugly, that's when the zip ties come out. Because they don't have enough cuffs, they might have like 2 pairs on them. And it's like, yep, just go to the boot of the car and get the zip ties. Look. Biker. He's got a tattoo, he's obviously an outlaw on something.
And there's another one. Back to this one.
Yes, do you know if insurance companies do any forensics on locks they've been picked to look for raking? And then the second part, in your opinion, would you recommend that you rake your own lock?
Break it or pick it?
Rake.
Rake it? No, sorry. Rake. Yeah, rake your own locks if it's not to your front door or something like that. Be prepared for that lock to break after a while. If you're prepared for that, then it's okay.
I think the subtext there, because it's my point, is if you need plausible deniability, if there's no visible break-in for the insurance company, if you've scratched up your own locks, you can then say, well, it looks as if somebody's tried to pick my locks. That's the advice I was given by a lockpicker a while ago.
CrikeyCon, bringing together people to discuss insurance.
As a flood victim, I'm well aware of the resistance of insurance companies to pay out, so sometimes it's better to have a backup.
I'm afraid we're going to actually have to wrap it up there. Robert, Winkel, here is your mug. Fantastic, it's inspiring.